95% of AI pilots fail. They're not in need for optimization. They're not almost there. They're completely failing. Most people would make the assumption that the reason why a lot of these AI pilots are failing is because the technology isn't there. But I think that there's something that is going to help you understand why these AI pilots are failing so frequently. But I also think that it's something that will surprise you in the sense that it has nothing to do with the technology. So in this video, I want to break down why the 95% of AI pilots are crashing and burning, and how you can set up your organization to be more adaptable to the changes that are coming. The first thing that I want to cover in this video is why the technology is no longer the problem, and why organizational issues are probably what's stopping you from having success in the age of AI. Second thing that I want to cover is the framework that Jensen used at Nvidia to become part of that 5%. And the third thing that I want to talk about is there's a counterintuitive truth about Nvidia's survival that I want to explain to you so that you can hopefully use this in your AI journey and see success from it. I've said a few times already that the reason why most AI pilots fail is not because of the technology, and it's more to do with the organizational issues. In some of the clips that I'm going to show you of Nvidia's near-death experience, it's going to seem a little bit contradictory because in those early days, the technology wasn't ready. This was the late 90s. Nvidia itself was a much smaller company than what it is today, and they were in their infancy. Today, the market has evolved significantly. You have so many players like OpenAI, Claude, Gemini, Grok, so many of these mature players that are bringing user-friendly AI tools to market. They have APIs that are really easy to integrate with. They have other tools that allow you to embed AI products into your workflows super easily. How do we take this mature technology and embed it into an organization that may or may not be ready for it? So just to be really clear, the technology from an AI perspective is mature. It's reliable. They're affordable for any size business to start using. It's really just about finding those opportunities, finding those use cases and those workflows. So why are the 95% of AI pilots still failing? The problems that Nvidia had to deal with in the 90s were purely technological. What's going to be the biggest barriers to entry for you is going to be that organizational side. The challenges today for most businesses are going to be around change management, cultural alignment, strategy, workflow analysis, and workflow redesign. So the question isn't, is the technology ready? It is. But the question for you, is your organization ready? Is your organization ready to adopt AI? Do they know what it means for them? Do they know how they're going to be impacted by this? In the late 90s, Nvidia was still in its early days. It was still quite a young company, and they had signed a deal with SEGA to produce their graphics cards for their latest console. This was a massive deal for Nvidia, massive client, massive opportunity. But whilst they were working on the graphics card for the new console, they realized that they were using the wrong technological approach. The competitors were seeing success, and Nvidia were going in the completely wrong direction. They had the choice of either wrap everything up and just go back to basics, or they could just keep going in the direction that they were going in, knowing that they might fail, or there was a small chance that they would succeed. It was clear that both directions were leading to the same outcome: failure. I'm going to show you a clip where Jensen describes that time, what he and his team were going through to understand when was the right time to pivot. This is something that a lot of other companies could use to understand when they're potentially heading down the wrong direction.
And so we decided, let's just go to Japan and let's convince SEGA to move those applications into the PC. And we would start the PC gaming, the 3D gaming industry, partnering with SEGA. That's how Nvidia started.
Wow.
And so in exchange for them developing their games for our computers in the PC, we would build a chip for their game console. That was the partnership. I build a chip for your game console, you port the SEGA games to us, and then they paid us at the time, quite a significant amount of money to build that game console. And that was kind of the beginning of Nvidia getting started. And we thought we were on our way. And so I started with a business plan, a mission statement that wasn't possible. We lucked into the SEGA partnership. We started taking off, started building our game console. And about a couple years into it, we discovered our first technology didn't work. It would have been a flaw. It was a flaw. And all of the technology ideas that we had, the architecture concepts were sound, but the way we were doing computer graphics was exactly backwards. So we chose a bunch of technology approaches that 3 major technology choices, all 3 choices were wrong. Okay, so this is how incredibly smart we were. And so, and so in 1995, mid-95, we realized we were going down the wrong path. Meanwhile, the Silicon Valley was packed with 3D graphics startups because it was the most exciting technology at that time. And so 3D effects and rendition, and silicon graphics was coming in. Intel was already in there. And, gosh, what added up eventually to 100 different startups we had to compete against. Everybody had chosen the right technology approach, and we chose the wrong one. And so we were the first company to start. We found ourselves essentially dead last with the wrong answer. And so the company was in trouble. And ultimately, we had to make several decisions. The first decision is, well, if we change now, we will be the last company. And even if we changed into the technology that we believe to be right, we'd still be dead. And so that argument, do we change and therefore be dead? Don't change and make this technology work somehow? Or go do something completely different? That question stirred the company strategically and was a hard question. I eventually, advocated for, we don't know what the right strategy is, but we know what the wrong technology is. So let's stop doing it the wrong way, and let's give ourselves a chance to go figure out what the strategy is.
So most companies who are facing this decision, they decide to double down. It's sunk cost. We've already invested so much. We've already come so far. We need to keep going. But Jensen did something different. He didn't say, I don't know if this is the right technology. He knew that it was the wrong direction. Jensen had to ask, is the technology ready? Whereas you have to ask, is my organization ready? How do I know if they're not ready? Are there any qualitative signs that the team are uncomfortable with the direction that we're heading in? It's pretty clear when the technology is likely going to fail. There might be performance issues with certain capabilities that you've tried to implement, technical limitations that you stumble across. When you've deployed a specific AI tool into your organization, are your staff using it? If they're not using it, it's a good sign that there's some sort of organizational friction that you're going to experience along the way. Have you introduced AI into one of your processes and then all of a sudden the process breaks? Was the process better before you started implementing AI? If that is the case, you need to reassess that process to understand why. If the data's bad, there's no way that your AI system is going to work. If you've implemented AI into your organization and you've noticed that the team are reverting back to the manual processes, staff will often say that it's just faster to do it manually. It could be because there's just a natural backlash towards implementing AI into the organization, or maybe the way that it was implemented doesn't respect the original process. And also another sign that it might lead to failure is if your leadership team can't explain the benefits of implementing AI into the organization, if they can't explain the outcome that they're trying to achieve, or if they can't explain the vision of where they want to get to in the future. So can you see the difference there? Jensen in the 90s was dealing with a challenge in how to bring that technology to market to make sure that it's mature. However, in 2025, you're dealing with an organizational challenge. But the framework that Jensen used at Nvidia to overcome those technological challenges is the same framework that you can use to overcome your organizational issues. Before Nvidia could figure out how they were going to rebuild their technology, they had to answer some pretty fundamental questions. What architecture do we actually need? What infrastructure must be in place? What capabilities are non-negotiable? But before you can start implementing AI into your organization, you need to answer the following questions. Is our data ready for AI to learn from? Have we designed our processes that we can actually leverage AI instead of fighting it? Does our culture support experimentation and iteration? Does our staff have the literacy to work alongside AI and to improve it? Does our staff have the capabilities to evolve with it and to continue to learn and evolve as this technology rapidly changes over the years? Most companies miss this. They just buy the technology, try to implement it, and then sit there wondering why it doesn't work. Alrighty, so we've covered why the challenge today is no longer about technology and more about organizations. I've also explained the framework that Nvidia has used to survive. Because if you remember, Nvidia just unlocked this massive contract with SEGA. It was life or death for them. And they just realized that their technology didn't work and that they had to start from scratch. But they still needed SEGA's money to survive and pivot. They needed more runway. So Jensen had to have one of the most difficult conversations that he's ever had in his life. And this is the kind of conversation that anybody who's in a position of trying to implement AI in their organization who has run into some troubles can certainly learn some lessons from. So here's how Jensen handled it. And I want you to hear the radical transparency that he uses to earn trust.
The second problem we had was our company was running out of money. And I was in a contract with SEGA, and I owed them this game console. And if that contract would have been canceled, we'd be dead. We would have vaporized instantly. Whew. And so I went to Japan and I explained to the CEO of SEGA, Iri Majiri, really great man. He was the former CEO of Honda USA, went back to SEGA to run SEGA, went back to Japan to run SEGA. And I explained to him that, and I was, I guess I was 33 years old. And I went to him and I said, listen, I've got some bad news for you. And first, the technology that we promised you doesn't work. And second, we shouldn't finish your contract because we'd waste all your money and you would have something that doesn't work. And I recommend you find another partner to build your game console. Whoa. And so I'm terribly sorry that we've set you back in your product roadmap. And third, even though I'm asking you to let me out of the contract, I still need the money. Because if you didn't give me the money, we'd vaporize overnight. And so I explained it to him humbly, honestly, gave him the background. I explained to him why the technology doesn't work, why we thought it was going to work, why it doesn't work. And I asked him to convert the last $5 million that they were going to complete the contract, to give us that money as an investment instead. And he said, but it's very likely your company will go out of business, even with my investment. And it was completely true. Back then, 1995, $5 million was a lot of money. It's a lot of money today. $5 million was a lot of money. And here's a pile of competitors doing it right. What are the chances that giving Nvidia $5 million, that we would develop the right strategy, that he would get a return on that $5 million or even get it back? 0%. You do the math, it's 0%. if I were sitting there right there, I wouldn't have done it. $5 million was a mountain of money to SEGA at the time. And so I told him that if you invested that $5 million in us, it is most likely to be lost. But if you didn't invest that money, we'd be out of business. We would have no chance. And I told him that I don't even know exactly what I said in the end, but I told him that I would understand if he decided not to, but it would make the world to me if he did. He went off and thought about it for a couple of days and came back and said, "We'll do it." Wow. What he decided was Jensen was a young man he liked.
So Jensen told his most important stakeholder that we were wrong. We're going to fail, but we still need your money, and we're probably going to fail anyway. And SEGA still gave him $5 million. But here's what that money actually bought. It bought him runway. It bought him the ability to figure things out. They were able to go back and test out different approaches without the immediate stress and pressure of having to generate revenue. They also had the time to continue working on this and constantly refining and iterating until they got to a place that they were happy with. The $5 million didn't guarantee Nvidia's success, but what it did guarantee is the opportunity. So you're probably wondering how this applies to you and your AI implementations. Having stakeholder trust is fundamental to be able to buy you that runway so that you have the adequate time to figure things out. If you do come across these sorts of challenges with your pilot, don't just patch the AI tool. Look at the process first. Figure out how you can redesign the process to make sure that the AI is seamlessly integrated. You need to look at whether you have the right data. Do you have the right people? There shouldn't be this immediate ROI pressure. It's unlikely that when you're experimenting with new AI products and features that you're going to see ROI immediately. Jensen had to earn the trust of his investors to unlock more runway to get it right. The challenges that you're going to face, it's not only a bottom up in terms of earning the trust for your leadership team or investors, it's also top down. How can you earn the trust of the people who are going to be using these systems? Or how can you earn the trust of the people who are currently working in these processes and may feel that they're going to be disrupted by it? So you need to earn the trust with transparency, making sure that the people who may be disrupted by these new technologies understand that they still have a role to play. If you haven't built trust first, as soon as something goes wrong, they're going to blame the technology and they're going to cut the budget. And you won't get the opportunity and the runway that you need to fix the problem, which was never the technology in the first place. This is one of the reasons why 95% of AI pilots fail. Not because of the technology, not because it wasn't ready, but because their organization wasn't ready. They didn't yet have the trust. They didn't do enough work on understanding the processes. They skipped the strategic design. They skipped the organizational preparedness. They skipped change management. They didn't assess the infrastructure. They didn't assess the data. They went straight for the technology. So when things go wrong, when staff aren't adopting the tools, when processes break instead of improving, when the pilot isn't delivering any ROI, they can't have the conversation that Jensen had because they haven't built that foundational trust. They have to double down. They have to keep going along the road they were going on. Even in the back of their mind, they know that they're likely going to fail. So I want to start talking about the framework that Jensen used. And this is something that's going to separate that 5% of successful AI pilots from the rest. What's critically important is that there's a systematic evaluation, the way of understanding not whether we're heading in the right direction, but flipping it. What do we need to see to know that we're heading in the wrong direction? Are they reverting back to old processes? Is there just a general lack of interest? Or is there an increased level of fear? So for Nvidia, it was technological signs that they were seeing along the way. But for you, it would be organizational signals that would let you know that you're likely heading in the wrong direction. You need to understand whether you have the right processes, the right staff, the right infrastructure, the right data quality, before you even start thinking about tools and technology. Don't just buy the technology and then hope that it fits. Start doing the work up front from a strategic point of view. And then once you have a clear path forward, you can start thinking about what technology you need to bring that vision. Build trust with all of the stakeholders, bring them along the journey with you. Make sure that everyone who's involved in this process or anybody who's involved in funding of this initiative, that they're fully involved from beginning to end and that the process is transparent. Have regular check-ins. This might be on a fortnightly basis. Constantly present your findings and the progress that you're making. Make sure that the people who are directly impacted by the process are involved in all of the workshops and design activities so that they can inform and raise issues. And then through that process, they can see where they fit in. They can see what role they're going to play. If you come across a point where you need to pivot, you at least have the trust of all of the stakeholders involved that they're trusting your judgment and not just thinking about whether the technology is ready or not. Nvidia had to start from scratch. They had to go back to the drawing board and reinvent the architecture. If you're looking to make significant, meaningful changes using AI to your organization, you're going to need to do the same thing. It can't just be an iteration of what's currently there. You will need to think about how you can go back to the drawing board and reinvent your organization. Now, that may not be the entire organization at once, but take one process. So before you start your next AI pilot, or if you're currently struggling with one, think about these 3 questions first. What specific evidence do you need to see which would prove that your organization is not ready? Not that the technology doesn't work, but your people, your processes, your infrastructure, your organization. Have you done the relevant strategic design work to figure out how AI is going to work in your organization? Where does AI fit in? Who are the people that are involved in those processes? How do they feel about AI? Do you know what processes must change? Do you know what new skills need to be built? How is your culture going to evolve once you implement AI? And do you have enough trust? Do your stakeholders trust you enough that if you get to a couple of months down the track and you've gone in the wrong direction, are you going to be able to ask for more runway? Are you going to be able to be given enough time to work through these challenging points? Will they give you enough runway to redesign your organization? Or are they just going to kill the pilot as soon as they see that something isn't working as expected? And if you can't answer these 3 questions, then you're probably in the 95%. Nvidia wasn't the smartest company out there. They were behind a lot of their competitors. But what they did have was a framework to recognize when they were going in the wrong direction. They had the courage to pivot and go back to first principles. And they also had the trust to be able to gain more runway to figure it out. So today, the technology is ready. OpenAI, ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Grok. These are all ready to be adopted by businesses today. The tools are being used by companies of all sizes to unlock amazing benefits for their organization. But the real question is, not is the technology ready, but is your organization ready? Are they ready to adopt AI? Have you done the strategic work to make sure that your company is in a position to capitalize? Do you have your infrastructure set up? Have you prepared your culture? Have you earned the trust of your stakeholders? These are the fundamental questions to understand before even thinking about implementing AI, because that is the difference between the 95% who fail and the 5% who succeed. Not the technology that you choose, but the organizational foundation that you set up before you start implementing the technology. If you found this video helpful, please subscribe. I publish a video every week about how companies are implementing AI into their organization. I focus mainly on the organizational issues that companies are struggling with and provide you with lots of helpful frameworks that you can use to help prepare your organization. So please subscribe and hit the bell icon if you want to learn more. And I look forward to seeing you in the next one.